In this video, I will showcase a usual workflow for geometry compositor HDA node. So the idea is that we can source different geometry from different directories on disk, and we can composite the geometry together using the interactive Python viewer state. So the idea is that on disk I am sourcing from this directory, and this directory has been geometry has been saved from Unreal Engine, basically from one of the Unreal Engine's asset packs. And basically, this theme is around the bookshelves. Basically, this theme is around the bookshelves. You have books, bunch of binders, and everything like that, and also the actual shelves. So basically here it is kind of a same theme directory, subdirectories. And what we can do is basically just go ahead and select any of these directories from the Python viewer state and flip through the items in that directory. And if let's say I like this location, I can go ahead and say I want another one of these. Just go ahead and press Ctrl D, and now we can copy this item, and then I can just use the mouse scroll up and down to change the item that I want to load. Then I can press it again, and then again another one. So then I can go ahead and start rotate it, and something like that. So that's the basic workflow for the tool, and how to put it all together I'm going to talk a little bit later, but let me go through all the hotkeys of the Python viewer state, and they are all described inside here. So first of all, the first line of the Python viewer state help text is which talks about basically about the item that this handle, the current handle where the color red is item that is light that is red is being assigned to, which in this case it is called index 26, and that just means that this is the index 26 in the multi-parameter. If you want to go ahead and apply some manual edits for that item, you can go ahead and go to that multi-parameter. So let me go ahead and go to maybe like this, index 6. If I go to the multi-parameter index 6, so these are all the values that has been written, basically that controls, like you can also manually use a translate from here, but the whole idea is to interactively use rotations for these items through the viewer state. But just that you know that the index is the multi-parameter for this item. So then there also says this subdirectory that this file is being sourced from, which is basically this parameter. You can see paper tray single, and this should be also paper tray single. And then also the actual geometry file, which is sm paper tray single bgo.sc, which is the file that we load from the disk. And all of these are packed disk primitives, so that's why the viewer state is pretty snappy, even if we have a bunch of geometry. Like in this case, I have over 20 items. So yeah, so the first one is just information data. Then we can see the mouse wheel. Mouse wheel is to change the item from that subdirectory. So in my subdirectory, if I go to my paper tray single directory, let's go here, paper tray single, you can see I have 4 items. And since I'm sourcing from that, you can see I can go ahead and select any of these 4 items from that directory. If I want to change directory, I have to press Ctrl, Shift, and mouse scroll up. In this case, you can see I can go to the pencil subdirectory. It's basically going to just, you can select your subdirectory from drop-down menu, or you can select it using the Ctrl Shift to select different source directory. And let's go ahead and take a look at these pencils. You can see they're very small. Basically, there's only 2 pencil types. You can go ahead and select between them. So let's put this pencil maybe here. Let's go ahead. Now that we have put our pencil, let's make more pencils. Ctrl D is to duplicate the item. Ctrl D again. Let's change the pencil maybe to item to the next one. So 1A. Let's go back to the previous item. So in the previous one is B. So 2 different pencils types, something like that. Let's go to the other items. Maybe let's fill up the bottom of the shelf. So let's go to the, maybe select this item. Let's go ahead and duplicate it. Let's go here. Another useful item is to use the T button. So the T button is going to reset the rotation of the item. A lot of the times when you are, like if you want to select a new item that you want to instantiate, basically composite, you want to reset the rotation from the one that you have copied from. So just press T, it's going to reset the rotations. So let's say I have rotated like that. Press T is going to reset the transforms. And let's go ahead and change the item that we source from. So we can go ahead and start creating these kind of stacks. Let's go ahead and copy like that. Let's rotate them a bunch. Let's copy it again. And let's change some item like that. And I want now these binders, bunch of binders. So let me go ahead and duplicate it. Let's move it. Let's press T to reset the transforms. Let's source from different places. So there's the books. Okay, we can maybe place these books to give some variety to them. Let's place these books. Let's duplicate it. You can just go ahead and start rotating them around. Maybe something like that. And you can just go ahead and flip between all the items and just change the types of them that you load up. And again, I'm pressing Control mouse scroll up and down to change the active item to edit it. And let's go ahead and duplicate it. Let's go to the bottom and let's fill up with these binders. So let me press T to restart the transforms. And then I will Control Shift to change the subdirectory that I source from my geometry from. Let's go ahead and use this one. So let's go ahead and place it like that. And then just go ahead and duplicate it. Maybe we can like that. Let's duplicate it again. Let's rotate it. Something like this. Let's go ahead and duplicate it again. And let me restart and let's source from, I think there's, where's the binders? Like these big binders. Let's go ahead and move them here. Like that. And let's duplicate it one again and move it there. So I'm pretty happy with the with filling out the shelves. So, and how we can actually use the geometry. So basically, since this is just a spec disk primitives, you can, inside here, you can basically, the output is going to be the same output as you see in the viewport without the, except for the, without the color, because we are using actually, because of the attribute visualization for the disk primitive, packed disk primitives is very limited. Another thing that I didn't talk about is this, is to toggle the red color, basically the coloring of the item, which is controlled by this parameter. Basically, you can select what color you want to color, what color you want to use to indicate the active edit item. But if you want to disable it when you're working with, basically without any color, without colors, you can go ahead and press B. And B is going to toggle the viewport setting that says that it's showing the CD attribute. You can just go ahead and disable it, and you can see it doesn't show color. So, but this is a viewport wide. So if you go out of this viewport and you don't see any color for your other geometry, that's because it's a viewport setting, a wide setting toggle. So, and the output of the first one is going to be just these packed primitive points just moved around. But what I am actually using this this tool the most at the most part is I am using it as a point cloud that I'm sending into Unreal Engine. Since I know that this geometry from me is from Unreal Engine, what I am actually doing, I am using the second output of the node that has ability to output point cloud and transformation data of these of this geometry. So the idea is that inside this subnetwork, we are stashing this geometry, and then we are looping through each packed primitive, extracting the point, basically the packed primitive point, which is basically at the origin that we have moved around. We extract it, and we can apply some attributes to it. And once we have applied attributes, we can use it as a instanced, as a point cloud inside Unreal Engine. So the idea is to use this point cloud tab if you want to use it inside Unreal Engine. So the idea is to go to the point cloud, and make sure that you say update positions. So the update position is going to update this stash HDA node inside the network, because after the sum of the, basically because of the way that HDA is cooked, if we do not have this stashed node, the viewport, the interactive viewport would be very slow, because it would try to recook basically every time these extraction of the points and attribute transforms that we do for the points for the second output of HDA, it would try to recook it every time we in the viewport move around our boxes, our geometry, and that would be, and that's very slow and not very interactive. So that's why we have to manually say, once we are happy with our geometry, say update positions. And one thing that I am doing, I am transferring attributes. And since I know that from the Unreal Engine, I got my Unreal input mesh name, which basically path to the geometry inside the content browser inside Unreal Engine. I can transfer this attribute to my points. And if you go to the null before this, you can see the points only have the normal, scale, and up attributes, which is needed for the instantiation inside Unreal Engine. And the only thing that we have also is this path to this geometry inside Unreal Engine that I have transferred from this transfer attributes node. And if you want to create this point cloud that can be instantiated inside Unreal Engine, you have to just rename this Unreal input mesh name to the Unreal instance attribute. And now that you have renamed this attribute, go ahead and save this geometry. In this case, I just have my temporary node shelf points bgo.sc. And the only thing that we have to do is go ahead and go to the Unreal Engine. In this case, I have here. So this is my previous shelf. You can just go ahead and go. By default, there is a Houdini asset called Houdini BGO import. Basically a default HDA node that comes with the Houdini engine inside Unreal Engine. Just put it inside the world, and to make sure that its location is at the origin, basically 000, to make sure that it works correctly. And the only thing that you have to do is point to that point cloud that you just saved out of Unreal, out of Houdini. And if you go ahead and say recook, you can see we have updated our geometry with all the we have updated our point cloud with all the instances from the content browser. So none of these geometries are cooked. These are just instanced geometry from the point cloud. And if you go ahead and go to the Houdini, let's say I do not want these, maybe these binders. I just go ahead and say delete these. Let's delete these two. And now I'm going to make sure that I update my positions. And then I just go ahead and say reload geometry. Let's go back here. And the only thing I have to go to the Houdini engine and say recook. And you can see these two are gone because we have updated our geometry. That's a very quick way to create this geometry and to bake it out as something useful, something like a blueprint, where you basically are holding together entirety of the geometry. What you can do is go to the asset, make sure that you have selected one actor per HDA, and this is a little tricky because this option actually grays out when you have selected what to bake out, either blueprint or actor. If you go ahead and press actor, you can then select what you want to bake out. One actor per component or one actor per HDA. So make sure that you say one actor per HDA and then select the blueprint. And now if you go ahead and say bake, it's going to bake out a blueprint, a default, basically a blueprint class that has basically a basic blueprint class, which is not very good class, but since this is not really a video about blueprint, but you can see, but basically we have our blueprint that is holding our geometry all together as a one instance of the blueprint. So this is how I am using this tool, and I think it's very cool that you can interactively set up your geometry inside Houdini and then send it to the Unreal Engine. And that pretty much covers the geometry compositor node. I hope you found this video useful, and see you next time.